Welcome to the session Variational Problems with Fixed Boundaries, Part 2. Variational principles are of great scientific significance as they provide a unified approach to various mathematical and physical problems and yield fundamental exploratory ideas. The calculus of variations has its origin in the generalization of the elementary theory of maxima and minima of a function of a single or more variables. Its object is to find extrema or stationary values of functional. By a functional, we mean a quantity whose values are determined by one or several functions. Thus, the domain of a functional is a set of admissible functions rather than a region of a coordinate space. Variational problems in parametric form. In many variational problems, it is more convenient and sometimes necessary to make use of a parametric representation of a line as follows: x is equal to phi of t, y is equal to psi of t for t naught less than or equal to t less than or equal to t1. Let it be equation number 1. Consider the functional j of x of t comma y of t is equal to integral from t naught to t1 f of t comma x comma y comma x dot comma y dot dt. Let it be equation number 2, where the integration is along the line 1 and a dot denotes derivative with respect to t. In order that the values of functional 2 depend only on the line and not on the parameterization, which can be accomplished in a number of ways, it is both necessary and sufficient that the integrand in equation 2 does not contain t explicitly and that it is homogeneous of the first degree in x dot and y dot. Thus, f of x comma y comma k x dot comma k y dot is equal to k into f of x comma y comma x dot comma y dot, where k greater than 0. Let it be equation number 3. Take for example I of x of t comma y of t is equal to integral from t naught to t1 phi of x of t comma y of t comma x dot of t comma y dot of t dt, where phi satisfies the homogeneity condition 3. Let us now consider a new parametric representation tau is equal to zeta of t, where zeta dot of t not equal to 0, x is equal to x of tau, y is equal to y of tau. Then integral from t naught to t1 phi of x of t comma y of t comma x dot of t comma y dot of t dt is equal to integral from tau 0 to tau 1 phi of x tau comma y tau comma x tau of tau zeta dot comma y tau of tau zeta dot d tau divided by tau dot. But since phi is a homogeneous function of first degree in x dot and y dot, phi of x comma y comma x tau dot into zeta dot comma y tau dot into zeta dot is equal to zeta dot into phi of x comma y comma x tau dot comma y tau dot. This gives from the above equation integral from t0 to t1 phi of x comma y comma x tau dot comma y tau dot dt is equal to integral from t0 to t1 phi of x comma y comma x tau dot comma y tau dot d tau. Thus, the integrand remains unchanged with a change in the parametric representation. For example, the area bounded by a closed curve given by integral from t1 to t2 x y dot minus y x dot dt is a functional which can be put in the form I of x of t comma y of t is equal to integral from t1 to t2 phi of x comma y comma x dot comma y dot dt, where phi is a homogeneous function of degree 1 in x dot and y dot. Thus, to find extremals for I, one has to solve Euler's equation phi x minus d by dt of phi x dot is equal to 0 and phi y minus d by dt of phi y dot is equal to 0. Let it be equation number 4. However, these equations are not independent, because this must be satisfied by a certain solution x is equal to x of t comma y is equal to y of t and any other pairs of functions with a different parametric representation of the same curve, which in the case of Euler's equations being independent would conflict with the theorem of existence and uniqueness of a solution of a system of differential equations. Thus, we conclude that in equation 4, any one equation is a consequence of the other, and to find the extremals, one has to solve any one of the equations 4 along with the equation x dot square plus y dot square is equal to 1, which shows that the arc length of the curve is taken as the parameter. The Weierstrassian form of Euler's equation 4 is 1 by r is equal to phi x y dot minus phi y x dot divided by phi 1 of x dot square plus y dot square all raised to 3 by 2. Let it be equation number 5, where r is the radius of curvature of the extremal and is the common value of the ratios. Phi 1 is equal to phi x dot divided by y dot square is equal to phi y dot divided by x dot square is equal to negative of phi x dot y dot divided by x dot y dot. For example, in finding the extremals of I of x of t comma y of t is equal to integral from t0 to t1 x dot square plus y dot square all raised to 1 by 2 plus a square into x y dot minus y x dot dt, we first notice that the integrand phi of x comma y comma x dot comma y dot is homogeneous of degree 1. Using Weierstrass form of Euler's equations, we find that f x y dot is equal to a square, f y x dot is equal to minus a square, f 1 is equal to 1 divided by x dot square plus y dot square all raised to 3 by 2. Let it be equation number 6. Give 1 by r is equal to 2a square, which shows that the extremals are circles. Some application to problems of mechanics. Hamilton's principle. One of the most fundamental and important principles of mechanics and mathematical physics is the principle of least action due to Hamilton, William Rowan Hamilton, 1805 to 1865, an Irish mathematician, also known for his invention of quaternions. Using this principle, one can deduce the basic equations governing many physical phenomena. Let us formulate the principle for a dynamical system of particles and begin by considering the case of a single particle. We consider a particle of mass m moving in a force field. If the position vector of the particle with respect to a fixed origin is denoted by vector r, then by Newton's law of motion, the path of the particle is governed by the equation m into d square r by dt square is equal to vector f. Let it be equation number 7. Where vector f is the force acting on the particle. Now consider any other paths r plus delta r on the proviso that the paths and the varied paths coincide at two distinct instants t is equal to t1 and t is equal to t2. This demands that delta r at t1 is equal to delta r at t2, which is equal to 0. Let it be equation number 8. At any intermediate time t, we examine the true paths and varied paths r plus delta r. Taking the dot product of variation delta r into 7 and integrating the result with respect to time over the interval t1 comma t2, we get integral from t1 to t2 m into d square r by dt square dot delta r minus f dot delta r dt is equal to 0. Let it be equation number 9. Integrating by the first term in 9 by parts and by using 8, we find that m into integral from t1 to t2 d square r by dt square dot delta r dt, which is equal to m into dr by dt dot delta r between the limits t1 and t2 minus integral from t1 to t2 dr by dt dot delta of dr by dt dt, which is equal to minus delta into integral from t1 to t2 m by 2 into dr by dt whole square dt, which is equal to minus delta into integral from t1 to t2 capital T dt, where capital T is the kinetic energy 1 by 2 into m into dr by dt whole square of the particle. Substitution of the above relation in 9 then gives integral from t1 to t2 delta t plus f dot delta r dt is equal to 0. Let it be equation number 10. This is Hamilton's principle in its most general form for a single particle. Now consider the case when the force field F having components x, y, z is conservative, which implies that f dot dr is equal to x dx plus y dy plus z dz is the differential of a single valued function phi of x, y, z. This function is called the force potential and its negative, say V, is the potential energy of the particle. Thus, f dot delta r is equal to delta phi, which is equal to minus delta V, and its substitution in equation 10 gives delta into integral from t1 to t2 t minus v dt is equal to 0. Let it be equation number 11, which is Hamilton's principle. This states that the motion is such that the integral of the difference between the kinetic and potential energies is stationary for the actual path. The difference t minus v is known as the Lagrangian function. It can be shown further that this integral is a minimum for the true path as compared with any neighboring path having the same terminal configurations, at least over a sufficiently short time interval. From Hamilton's principle, one can derive another important principle known as Hertz principle. This states that a particle or a system moving on a surface without external forces acting on it follows a geodesic line. A line Q is called the geodesic on a surface if at each point of Q the principal normal coincides with the normal to the surface. As an example of Hertz principle, we may note that a point on a spherical surface moves along a great circle if it is not acted by external forces. Similarly, a point on a cylindrical surface moves along a helix under the same circumstances. By topological methods in variational problems, one can show that on any smooth closed surface, there are at least 3 closed geodesic lines. For example, an ellipsoid has 3 symmetry planes, and the ellipses along which these 3 planes cut the ellipsoid are closed geodesics. If the force field is non-conservative, for example, a dissipative system, the potential energy function does not exist. But equation 10 still holds, and f dot delta r is the work done by the force F in a small displacement delta r. The foregoing study can be easily extended to a system of n particles by summation and to a continuous system by integration. Thus, for n particles, the kinetic energy is T is equal to summation k varies from 1 to n 1 by 2 into mk into drk divided by dt whole square, and the total work done by the forces is summation k varies from 1 to n fk dot delta rk. In fact, the principle applies equally well to a general dynamical system consisting of a system of particles and rigid bodies. Let us now apply the above principle to derive the equation of vibration of a rectilinear bar. A displacement from the equilibrium position u of x comma t will be a function of x measured along the bar in the undisturbed position and time t. Thus, the kinetic energy of this bar of length L is T is equal to 1 by 2 into integral from 0 to L rho into dou u by dou t whole square. We assume that the bar is slightly extensible. The potential energy of an elastic bar with a constant curvature is proportional to the square of the curvature. Thus, the differential dV of the potential energy of the bar is dV is equal to 1 by 2 into k into dou square u by dou x square divided by 1 plus dou u by dou x whole square the whole raised to 3 by 2 whole square dx, k being a constant. Thus, the potential energy of the entire bar whose axis curvature is variable is u is equal to 1 by 2 into k into integral from 0 to 1 dou square u by dou x square divided by 1 plus dou u by dou x whole square all raised to 3 by 2 the whole square dx. According to our assumption of a slight extensibility, the derivations of the bar from the equilibrium position are small, and the term dou u by dou x whole square may be ignored. Now, by Hamilton's principle, the integral double integral T1 to T2 0 to L 1 by 2 rho into dou u by dou t whole square minus 1 by 2 into k into dou square u by dou x square whole square dx dt will be an extremum for fixed terminal times T1 and T2. The Euler-Ostrogradsky equation then gives dou by dou t of rho into dou u by dou t plus dou square by dou x square of k into dou square u by dou x square is equal to 0, which is the governing equation for displacement u of x comma t. In a similar manner, it can be shown that the differential equation for the displacement u of x comma t of a highly flexible and almost inextensible homogeneous string from its equilibrium position is dou square u by dou t square is equal to t by rho into dou square u by dou x square, where t and rho denote the tension and the line density of the material of the string. There is an important generalization of the above equation when the string is acted on by a uniformly distributed linear restoring force directed towards the equilibrium position. This leads to adding a term of the form minus ku, k being a positive constant, to the right hand side of the above equation. The new equation is known as the Klein-Gordon equation, which in its general form is given by 1 by c square into dou square u by dou t square, which is equal to del square u minus k into u, where c square is equal to t by rho. Variational problems leading to an integral equation or a differential difference equation. We have familiarized with variational problems involving functionals formed by integrating a certain differential expression in the argument function, but more general classes of functionals are often encountered in variational problems. Let us consider the functional I of phi is equal to double integral k s comma t phi of s into phi of t ds dt plus integral phi of s whole square ds minus 2 into integral phi of s into f of s ds, which we want to extremize. Here k of s comma t is a given continuous function with k of s comma t is equal to k of t comma s. F of s is a given continuous function of s and phi of s is the unknown continuous function. All integrations are confined to the interval a less than or equal to s less than or equal to b, a less than or equal to t less than or equal to b. We replace phi by phi plus epsilon theta and consider I of phi plus epsilon theta is equal to psi of epsilon. The variation delta I given by d psi divided by d epsilon at psi is equal to 0 is obtained after some transformation as 2 times integral from a to b theta of t into integral from a to b k of s comma t into phi of s ds plus phi of t minus f of t dt. Hence, the requirement delta I is equal to 0 for an extremum leads to Fredholm integral equation integral from a to b k of s comma t into phi of s ds plus phi of t is equal to f of t as Euler equation for the problem. Let us next consider another functional I of phi is equal to integral from minus infinity to infinity p of x into phi dash of x square plus 2 into phi of x plus 1 into phi of x minus 1 minus phi square of x minus 2 into phi of x into f of x dx, which is to be extremized. Here the argument function is continuous and has a piecewise continuous derivative in the entire interval minus infinity less than x less than infinity. Now delta I is equal to d by d epsilon of I of phi plus epsilon theta at epsilon is equal to 0, which is equal to 2 into integral from minus infinity to infinity theta of x into minus p phi dash dash plus phi of x plus 2 plus phi of x minus 2 minus phi of x minus f of x dx. Now, the vanishing of delta I for arbitrary theta gives p phi dash dash minus phi of x plus 2 minus phi of x minus 2 plus phi of x plus f of x is equal to 0, which is a differential difference equation for the argument function phi of x. Theorem of Du Bois-Reymond. It may be recalled that in deriving Euler's equation for the functional, I of y of x is equal to integral from a to b f of x comma y of x comma y dash of x dx. Let it be equation number 12. It was assumed that the admissible functions admit of continuous first order derivative. However, a variational problem with integrand f of x comma y dash is also meaningful when y dash is required to be only piecewise continuous. Consider first an actual minimum problem such that y of x is that function with continuous first and second derivatives, which renders I in equation 12 a minimum. Then it can be shown that y of x yields a minimum if we expand the class of functions to include functions y star which need not have second derivatives. In fact, according to Weierstrass approximation theorem, we can approximate the function y star by a polynomial p of x and y star by derived polynomial p dash of x as closely as we like, where p of x satisfies the boundary conditions p of a is equal to y1 and p of b is equal to y2. Then clearly I of p of x differs arbitrarily little from I of y star. But since p of x is an admissible comparison function with continuous second derivatives, I of p of x is greater than or equal to I of y of x, and therefore I of y star of x is greater than or equal to I of y of x. This proves the results. We next prove that if in this variational problem y of x is the extremizing function satisfying the boundary conditions admitting first order continuous derivative, then y of x admits of a continuous second derivative also, provided that f y dash not equal to 0. This is the theorem of Du Bois-Reymond. We first prove the following lemma. If phi of x is a piecewise continuous function in the closed interval a b, and if integral from a to b phi of x into eta of x dx is equal to 0, let it be equation number 13, holds for arbitrary continuous function eta of x satisfying the condition integral from a to b eta of x dx is equal to 0, let it be equation number 14, then phi of x is a constant. To prove this lemma, we first note that the relation 13 is clearly satisfied for constant phi. We now fix a constant c such that integral from a to b phi minus c dx is equal to 0 for the given phi. Then from equations 13 and 14, we have integral from a to b phi minus c into eta dx is equal to 0. Setting eta is equal to phi minus c in this relation gives integral from a to b phi minus c whole square dx is equal to 0, and this proves the lemma. This result can be generalized in the following manner. If phi of x is a piecewise continuous function satisfying integral from a to b phi of x into eta of x dx is equal to 0 for all continuous functions eta of x such that integral from a to b eta of x dx is equal to 0, integral from a to b x into eta of x dx is equal to 0, etc. Integral from a to b x raised to n into eta of x dx is equal to 0, then phi of x is a polynomial of nth degree. To prove Du Bois-Reymond's theorem, we note that the relation integral from a to b fy theta plus fy dash theta dash dx is equal to 0 holds for any continuously differentiable function theta of x satisfying theta of x naught is equal to theta of x1 is equal to 0. Putting fy is equal to a dash, fy dash is equal to b, we obtain after integration by parts the relation integral from x naught to x1 a dash theta plus b into theta dash dx, which is equal to integral from x naught to x1 theta dash into b minus a dx is equal to 0. We select an arbitrary function theta dash is equal to eta, which is continuous and satisfies integral from x0 to x1 eta dx is equal to theta of x1 minus theta of x0, which is equal to 0. Applying the previous lemma, we obtain b minus a is equal to f y dash minus integral from x0 to x1 f y dx, which is equal to c. Let it be equation number 15, where c does not depend on x. Equation 15 takes the place of Euler's equation. Now, since integral from x0 to x1 f y dx is differentiable with respect to x, it follows from equation 15 that f y dash also is differentiable. Hence, Euler's equation d by dx of f y dash minus f y is equal to 0 holds. Now, if f is twice continuously differentiable with respect to its arguments, and further f y dash not is equal to 0 is satisfied, it follows that the piecewise continuous function y dash is also continuous and has a continuous derivative. Because if f y dash not equal to 0, y dash may be expressed as a continuously differentiable function phi of x comma y comma f y dash. Further, by virtue of equation 15, f y dash is a continuous function of x and y dash is also continuous. Hence, the arguments y and f y dash of phi are continuously differentiable, and hence y dash is equal to phi is also continuously differentiable. This establishes Du Bois-Reymond's theorem, which can be easily extended to an integrand of the form f of x comma y dash comma etc. comma yn by using the generalization of the above lemma. Let me conclude this session. In this session, we have discussed variational problems in parametric form and some applications in physical problems. Also, we have discussed variational problems which are leading to integral equations and a theorem, namely theorem of Du Bois-Reymond. Now, you may try to attempt the given questions. First one, explain variational problems in parametric form. Second one, state and prove Hamilton's principle. Third one, derive the equation of vibration of a rectilinear bar. Fourth one, minimize the cost functional I is equal to half of integral from 0 to 2 x double dot square dt, where x is equal to x of t satisfies x of 0 is equal to 1, x dot of 0 is equal to 1, x of 2 is equal to 1 and x dot of 2 is equal to 0. Fifth one, show that the geodesics of a spherical surface are great circles. Sixth one, a mechanical system is described by the differential equation d square x by dt square is equal to u, where x is the state variable and u the control variable. Find the optimal control u, which takes the system from x is equal to 1, dx by dt is equal to 1 at t is equal to 0, to x is equal to 0, dx by dt is equal to 0 at t is equal to 1, and which minimizes the functional j is equal to integral from 0 to 1 u square dt. For your reference, you may go through the books given here. First one, Differential Equations and Calculus of Variations by L. Elsgolz, Mir Publishers, Moscow 1973. Second one, Calculus of Variations with Applications by A. S. Gupta, Prentice Hall, New Delhi 2009. Third one, Complementary Variational Principles by A. M. Arthurs, Clarendon Press, Oxford 1970. Fourth one, Differential Equations and Their Applications by Zafar Hassan, Prentice Hall, New Delhi 2006. Hope that you have followed this session. We will meet again with another topic. Thank you.